Hello everyone, Monica here. I'm bringing to you today a short tutorial on how I watercolor this card, which is a lot simpler than it looks. For this I need of course my stamp, which in this case is one from Pink Fresh Studio, my watercolor paper, and some Tombow markers. I cut two pieces of cardstock, the watercolor paper and black cardstock, the exact same size. I started by prepping my watercolor paper with anti-static powder and position my stamp where I wanted it on the paper, and I left it on the stamping platform. I prepped my paper, as you can see, and stamped with black ink. Once I had the impression that I was happy with, like you see, I left the stamp right there on the stamping platform. Then I added some clear embossing powder and I heat set it. I made sure I dusted off some of the excess of embossing powder, so to avoid having summit when I was watercoloring. Then I had previously marked some areas of in my panel. I had measured with a ruler where I wanted to add the masking tape. I adhere the entire panel on a piece of heavy cardstock, and this is just scrap hard cardstock. And then I added the masking tape around the area where I actually wanted to color, just to sort of like limit the area. Then I'm measuring just to see if all the sides are the exact same size, and they were. And then I started with my coloring process. So tried I tried to be a little bit um, I don't know, I think specific, and I did petal by petal, but you don't have to do it that way. But because I was only going to color one section of this stamp, this is a large stamp, I thought I could get away with it. It was still a little bit time consuming, but not as much as if I had done the entire stamp, of course. So normally when I watercolor with Tombow markers or any markers, but especially with Tombows, I used two and sometimes three shades of the same color. So three shades of yellow, three reds or greens, and so forth. In this case, I chose like a kind of like magenta purple. There is a lot of pink in this purple, so it is not as violet. And I start by adding the lightest color into each petal. Then I add a little bit of the next darkest shade, and then just a tiny bit of the third darkest shade. And this is just like to create more shadows and light. Then with my water brush, I started by blending the lightest color onto the rest of the petal in this case. And then I grabbed a little bit of the second shade and then a little bit of the third one, the darkest one, and I blended into the petal. As you can see, I moved onto another flower, not the same one where I was working, and that was just to let some time to the first flower to dry and not put my hand on it. As you can see here, I am adding the second color, and then this is the third, which is the darkest. And again, those are just literally touches of those shades. And here I am starting by bringing the lightest color, which is, I added a heavier layer of it. So that layer of the lightest color is basically covering the entire petal. And then I start bringing the middle shade and then a little bit of the darkest shade into the petal. And the procedure is going to be the same for all the rest of the coloring. I am going to be switching colors. And we'll move on to another flower, and I believe I chose the sort of yellow tones, and there is a little bit of orange in there for the darkest shade, and then some green as well. So I'm gonna leave you here just for you to take a look. So I missed some of the videos when I was filming this, when I was taping this. So the entire process will not be in this short tutorial, but at least you will have an idea of how I achieved the look at the very end. So once everything was very dried, I removed the masking tape and also removed the panel from the cardstock base. And that is just to prevent some warping while it's drying. Here I am stamping in the black cardstock. In this case, I stamped with white ink and white heat emboss, and I cut it the exact same size of my A2 card. Then I trimmed the watercolor paper a little bit, and then I just simply matched the ends with the base one, with the black one. I only cut or trimmed like a quarter of an inch per side, so most of the white panel, let's say the front panel, is still there. You could, if you want, mount it in foam tape. That will give it a nice look. I just decided to use liquid glue, and then I adhere, as you can see, into the black panel. Then I had previously die cut that sentiment birthday on holographic cardstock and the happy on black cardstock, and I added some bubbles, some embellishments, crystals, just to give a little bit of a sparkle. But as you can see, it's the effect. I had a few questions about it. The effect is actually, it's more of an illusion. It's very easy to create and very easy to color as well. I hope you give it a try. Tombows are very, very forgiving and very accessible. I hope you like it, and thanks for watching. See you next time.